नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna, dear devotees, welcome all of you. And so we are continuing this series on Nectar of Instruction. We covered the first verse, which is talking about a very important and relevant point of the urges, which as a Vaishnava we are supposed to control. And then we saw about the various urges also. Vacho Vegam, Manasa, Krodha Vegam, Jiva, Udar Upasth. And we saw solutions to control those urges. And since these are the urges we are supposed to control, so they cannot be just nullified. Neither we will be able to control them fully. It will not be that, okay, today I'll control for next 3 months, then I'll need not to control. No, we have to control it throughout our life. It can be there, and we have to learn how to control it. So meanwhile, I request all the devotees, those who have joined, please kindly keep your videos on, as the instruction came from Adarsh Prabhu also, who is coordinating this. So this is an urge. We want to keep our video off, but we have to control it by keeping it on. So please, devotees, it's a humble request to kindly switch on your videos. Meanwhile, we are switching on to our next verse. So these next verse is famously known as the items unfavorable for bhakti. So which all are the items which are unfavorable for bhakti? So why this verse is there, as we saw last time, that first verse is talking about controlling the 6 urges. Now somebody may ask, very difficult to control. Then Rupa Goswami says, don't worry, take these 2 verses, second and third. If you follow these 2 verses, it will become easier for you to control the urges. So if you want to follow first verse, then we need to also follow second and third verse. We need to know what are unfavorable items. If we avoid them, then we can very nicely, progress in bhakti, or we become successful in controlling the urges. So let us dive deep into this second verse and try to see what all things it covers. And of course, we pay our obeisances to Srila Rupa Goswami for giving us such a beautiful literature. In just 11 verses, he has raised a Kanishta Adhikari to a Premi Bhakta. And if at all we can just follow it by the mercy of Rupa Goswami, Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale, Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swam Dandikam. So yes, text number 2. So I'll recite and then one of you can read the meaning of it. Atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha janasangascha lolyamcha shadbhir bhaktir vinashyati. Yes, so somebody can read the translation.
One's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities. First, eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than acquired. Second, over endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain. Third, talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters. Fourth, practicing the spiritual rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules or regulations of the scriptures and walking independently or whimsically. Fifth, associating with worldly minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. And sixth, being greedy for mundane achievements.
Correct. So very famous verse, Atyahara Prayasascha. So this Ati, which is in front of Ahar, is also applied to Prayas also. So Ati Ahar, Ati Prayas. This is the meaning. Atyahar Prayasascha Prajalpo Niyamagraha or Niyam Agraha. There are 2 meanings we will see. Jana Sangas Chalolyam Cha Shadbir Bhaktir Vinashyati. So my question to all of you is, please kindly enlighten me. When it says Shadbir Bhakti Vinashyati, Prabhupada writes in word meaning Vinashyati means destroyed. So write yes if you feel that yes, Bhakti is destroyed. And write no if you feel no, Bhakti doesn't get destroyed. Because after all, we see karma gets destroyed. Nahin? But bhakti doesn't get destroyed. But here, Prabhupada is writing bhakti get destroyed. So please kindly write your opinion in chat. What do you feel? Vinashyati means yes, it will get destroyed or it will not get destroyed. Okay. So we are having no, no, it will be covered. Yes, no, bhakti gets covered over. Okay. Okay. So actually speaking, it do get destroyed and it does not get destroyed also. It's both the way. So if some devotee is a very neophyte or just a beginner in bhakti, and if he goes through all these things, then his bhakti may get destroyed. Destroy in the sense it not just get covered, but it all of a sudden just get blocked. You know? And he may not be able to, figure it out, what to do, how to do, everything. He just get lost. But those who are a sincere sadhakas, those who have practiced this for a long time and they are having good amount of faith, if they do any of these things, activities, then their bhakti is covered. There is a famous shloka in Bhagavad Gita which Krishna says, Neha Vikramana Swasti Pratyevayo na vidyate Swalpamapi asya dharmasya Trayata mahato bhayat Swalpamapi asya dharmasya. We all have heard. Thoda sa bhi endeavor karenge na, it can protect you from greatest danger of repeatedly coming to this cycle of birth and death. But actually speaking, our Acharya says in that shloka, he says that only those items of bhakti which he has done with full heart of faith, that portion of bhakti will not get destroyed. That portion is swalpam apyasya dharmasya. But if somebody is just coming without faith, and without much devotion, he's just performing some activities of bhakti, that will be destroyed. That will not be covered in this insurance. Nowadays, there is insurance policy. So they have insurance policy and they have disclaimers. So if you purchase a car, you purchase an insurance for the car, and by chance your car meets an accident, then you will say, kindly repair my car. And they will say, no, no, sir, you have to pay around 20,000. Why 20,000? Then they will say, sir, see, actually, we cover only the iron part, but the fiber and glass part you have to pay. So in the car, you have fiber bonnet and you have glass windshield. That is not covered in insurance. So then you will say, why you insured only? They will say, no, sir, we insured your engine, we insure your iron parts, but we will not insure your fiber and glass part. Similarly, here also, Neha Vikram and Aswasti, that activities which are done with faith and devotion, those activities, they are remaining. But somehow or other, some people, they just come and they do anything and everything. Those activities will not be covered. So here also, when we talk about Vinashyati, Vinashyati means it will be destroyed for those who are neophytes. That means they are not having much faith. But those who are advanced, those who are having a little bit of faith, for them, the bhakti will be covered, as all of us heard. So take it very serious instructions of Rup Goswami, because otherwise he will not write Vinashyati. Now, another point which emphasize on Vinashyati is that in the last verse we discussed that Rup Goswami is taking this first shloka for a neophyte person. Prabhupada wrote, we saw in our introduction to Updeshamrit, that how Prabhupada wrote NOI is meant for neophyte devotees. That means for everybody. So neophyte, when it is meant for neophyte, so from that angle, if we see, Vinashyati means destroyed. Yes. And that's why Rup Goswami is writing correctly. Shadbir Bhakti Vinashyati. Because he's just beginning his bhakti. And if he doesn't learn to, stop all these things, unfavorable items, then his bhakti will be surely, destroyed. So we'll not go much into destruction. But the point which I wanted to make here is that, dear devotees, it is very important for us to learn to practice the second verse or avoid the unfavorable elements which are given in this verse. We cannot say, oh, Prabhuji, these are very high standards. I cannot follow them. Maybe I am a neophyte. So good news is for neophyte only these standards are given by Rup Goswami. And it is not given for advanced people. For advanced people, there are advanced shloka which are going to come. 7, 8, 9, and 11. So all those shlokas are for advanced people. But for neophytes, these are the shlokas. है ना? So we should have no doubt in our mind that not possible, Prabhuji. I am in world working hard and I am earning whole environment. I can no, that is not the excuse. The excuse we cannot give. So now let us go through the purpose of Srila Prabhupada and try to understand all these terms and how we can learn to do. So in this complete Prabhupada's commentary nectar of instruction, we have 24 purports, and Prabhupada speaks in this purport, paragraph 1 to 5. Prabhupada talks about need to work in two kinds of people. This is a very special introduction which Prabhupada is giving to this shloka. And what is the connection we will see. Then Prabhupada talks about atyahar prayasas and how to give ati prayas. And then he talks about prajalpa jana sangas. Lolyam cha and other things Prabhupada is jana sanga, sorry, lolyam cha and all those things Prabhupada takes when it comes to the commentary of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And then finally Prabhupada gives conclusion of plain living and high thinking. And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's commentary of Anuvritti, which Prabhupada has included, that has Atyahar, Prayas, Niyamagraha, Janasang, Lolyam. It doesn't contain much of Prajalpa. Prajalpa is covered by Srila Prabhupada. And then he also gives solution who can give up Atyahar. So now, when I was going through this verses and trying to understand what our acharyas have said, so there are various important points which came. So one of the important points which come, one of you can please read what is written.
In the beginning stage of the practice of bhakti, the material proclivity is prominent in the hearts of the sadhakas. Therefore, they are unable to subdue the six overwhelming passions described in the first verse. Consequently, in this condition, many tendencies that are very harmful to bhakti develop in the hearts of sadhakas.
Next, please read.
All these instructions have two different types of application for the householders and for the renunciates. The first verse is about conditional demands and second verse is about non-conditional demands. Srila Prabhupada repeats three times the phrase plain living and high thinking.
Yes. So this is what is given by one of the commentator, Radha Raman Goswami ji. I quoted him before also. He is coming in the line of Srila Gopal Bhatt Goswami. He says this first point. In the beginning stage of the practice of bhakti, the material proclivity is prominent in our heart or prominent. Then what happens? They are unable to subdue the six overwhelming passions. We are not able to subdue those six overwhelming passions which we discussed in first verse. Then what happened? In this condition, many tendencies that are very harmful to bhakti develop in the heart of the sadhaka. So, in one sense, these unfavorable attitudes of bhakti, they are symptoms that we are not able to control the six urges. These are the symptoms. So, if somebody will say that, Prabhuji, first verse, I am completely following. Thank you. What is the proof that we are following the first verse? These unfavorable tendencies we will be able to avoid fully. Second thing, this unfavorable verse, this items which are given, which we saw here. So in this, you will find Atyahar, Prayasasya, Prajalponiyamagra, Janasangas, Lolyam. These all are having different applications for householders and for renunciants. Yes. So if somebody is in Grihast Ashram, for him Atyahar will be different. For somebody who is in renounce order, for him Atyahar will be different. And same for everybody, for other items also. One more thing is that in first verse, the urges which are there, they are conditional urges. They will not come always. They will come once upon a time. They may just come up. That's why we are not able to control. That's called urges. But these points which are mentioned, Atyahar, Prayasya, these are not urges. These can be controlled. So therefore, we have to understand that if first verse is difficult for us to, apply in our life, at least second verse we should understand that it is fully possible for us to apply, because whatever unfavorable items are mentioned to avoid, we can actually avoid them. It's not difficult. And I just mentioned this. Why? Because in purport, Prabhupada writes three times plain living and high thinking. Because that is the secret of actually following this verse, avoiding unfavorable elements. So Prabhupada is actually giving in the Adi, Madhya, and Anta. If we see, when we'll see the purports of Srila Prabhupada, Adi means in the first line, Madhya in the middle, and at the end also, Prabhupada is talking about plain living and high thinking. So this is a very much mood and one of the mission statement of Srila Prabhupada, which he has given for ISKCON. So as a devotees, we should be following this instruction and should be meditating upon how we can actually follow this instruction of plain living and high thinking. Somebody is unmuted. I request him to mute himself so that noise doesn't come. And let us now see what is the link between the first verse and the second verse. For the Prabhupada's purport, as I mentioned, no, first 5 paragraphs of Prabhupada's purport, he's talking about work and 2 kind of people. So why is talking about this? Because of this one important thing. One may say the best of controlling these urges, the best way of controlling these urges is to withdraw from work. If there will be no work, then all the urges will be controlled. But according to Srila Prabhupada, one has to work. But one has to choose under which potency of the Lord one has to work. So see, when we see the first urge, Vacho Vegam, Manasa, Krodha Vegam. So somebody may say, I will not speak. That is not the solution. Somebody may say, I will not think. That is also not a solution. Somebody may say, oh, I will not eat. That is also not a solution. So we all have to work. Just avoiding it will not work. As many times, many different philosophies, they say that if you want to control mind, just keep it clear and just empty it of all the thoughts. Prabhupada mentioned it's not possible. Thoughts will come in our mind. But then we have to learn what kind of thoughts we should come. It should come. So there it requires an endeavor. And that's why Prabhupada also mentioned that bhakti process is a cultivation process. We'll discuss when it comes. So in the first 1 to 4 paragraph, I have summarized it so that we need not to read it fully. But all of you, I request, after our class, you can read those 4 paragraphs yourself. So Prabhupada talks about there is something known as internal potency. Internal potency means Antaranga Shakti. Prabhupada says it is Radharani, Lakshmi, and it is a bhakti or devotional service which all devotees are perform. Then there is something called as Bahiranga Shakti, which is called Mahamaya or material energy, we call it. And the main task of this material energy is to give us 3 kleshas, 3 tap, 3 miseries, Adi Bhautik, Adi Devik, Adhyatmik Klesh. We all know about that. So internal potency engages us in devotional service. External potency gives us 3 kleshas. And in between them is a marginal potency, that is Tatastha Shakti, that is Vijiva. Now we have to choose whether we go into internal potency or we go towards the external potency. We have the free will, we have the free choice. So now why Prabhupada is bringing this point, as I mentioned to all of you, that for controlling the 6 urges, we cannot just stop those demands. We have to control them by engaging them properly, as we saw the solutions of many of them. And those engagement can be under 2 potency. One, internal potency, Antaranga Shakti. Another can be external potency, Bahiranga Shakti. Now, based upon which potency is our engagement, there are 2 kind of people. They are born out of it. Prabhupada calls it souls, types of souls. One is called Mahatma, another one is called Duratma. Mahatma is broad-minded, Duratma is cripple-minded. So Prabhupada says Mahatma is under internal potency. Constant devotional service is performing and satisfying Krishna. And for him, liberation and eternal bliss in the spiritual world is guaranteed. But there is Duratma, who uses his free will to act under external potency. Now, external potency, when he's acting, so his main goal is not devotional service, his main goal is sense gratification. And that Prabhupada says sense gratification is personal and extended sense gratification. Personal means for himself, and extended means my country, my family, my kingdom. All those things comes into extended. And therefore, Prabhupada mentioned there are so many isms what people have brought out. And that is nothing, but that is because of extended sense gratification one wants to do. So this is also a very interesting thing that we may think that if I am doing sense gratification for myself, that only gets covered in sense gratification. No, even if you are doing extended, that is also sense gratification. And result of such mentality of Duratma is he will be repeatedly suffering birth, diseases, old age, and death. That will be his main thing. Therefore, Prabhupada says the solution again. Prabhupada is very great. You know, he makes sure that any devotee, if he's awake in the beginning of the class, or either he's awake in the end of the class or in the middle of the class, he should get the solution. And Adi Badhya Antacha. Therefore, Prabhupada in the beginning also says, human life is meant for plain living and high thinking. One of you can read, please, Prabhu.
The main
The
problem
main
confronting the conditioned souls is the repetition of birth, old age, disease, and death. In the material world, one has to work for the maintenance of the body and soul. But how can one perform such work in a way that is favorable for the execution of Krishna consciousness? Everyone requires possessions such as food, grains, clothing, money, and other things necessary for the maintenance of the body. But one should not collect more than necessary for his actual basic needs. If this natural principle is followed, there will be no difficulty in maintaining the body.
Correct. So one has to work, but he has to be favorable, reworking for Krishna. And he has to take care of his body. Prabhupada is not denying that fact. You know? And he has to collect some money. But how much? That is a question. And Prabhupada is telling, if we learn this art of plain living and high thinking, then there will be no difficulty in maintaining the body. So, what is this art of plain living and high thinking? So, we'll try to see when we'll go ahead in this topic. So, now Prabhupada in sixth paragraph onwards, Prabhupada is talking about Atyahar. So, I've just that spoken about Atyahar. So, Ati Ahar. Ati means too much or excessively. Ahar means to seize, grasp, or consume for one's own enjoyment. That is Ahar. So ati ahar means too much or excessively grasping, consuming for one's own enjoyment. Prabhupada gives a very beautiful example. But before that, we will read this. Prabhupada says, according to nature's arrangement, living entity. Again, we have to understand Prabhupada is not talking about atyahar. He is not giving definition. He is just coming directly to solution. But when we will see what Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur has to say, that time we will define Atyahara also. So, because we are trying to see first Prabhupada's purport, so therefore Prabhupada is directly coming to the solution. Therefore, I just mentioned this definition. Just keep it in mind, and what it is exactly we'll discuss in details now in next slides. So Prabhupada says, according to nature's arrangement, living entity lower on the evolutionary scale do not eat or collect more than necessary. So that means Prabhupada is telling animalistic people don't have to follow this instruction. They are by default in them. But human beings, for them, these instructions are there. Consequently, in the animal kingdom, there is generally no economic problem or scarcity of necessity. Prabhupada is telling because they're by default following this atyahar, there is no problem in their life. And Prabhupada gives an example. He says that if a bag of rice is placed in a public place, birds will come to eat a few grains and go away. I know we all have seen. But can any one of you tell what will happen if a human being comes over there instead of birds? What will happen?
Prabhuji, he will take away the entire bag for himself.
Exactly. It seems you have read Prabhupada purport. Prabhupada says, please read what Prabhupada says.
A human being, however, will take away the whole bag. He will eat all his stomach can hold and then try to keep the rest in storage. According to scriptures, this collecting of more than necessary atyahar is prohibited. Now the entire world is suffering because of it.
So Prabhupada is telling because this one principle, the world is not learning to follow. The world is suffering. Atyahar. Of course, later on, Prabhupada will also speak about Isha Vashamidam Sarvam Yatkincha Jagatan Jagat. This shloka from Ishopanishad, which talks about that how people should know that what is there for them and they should follow that much. But the point which Prabhupada is coming here to solution is that if we follow this principle of atyahar, not consuming much, then we did not have to fear that there will be no food for me to eat. That is not the case. Lord is providing for animals also. Why he will not provide for human beings? Why will not provide for human beings? So we will do these discussions, but all of you can just write down wherever you are noting down that what are the reasons because of which one is not able to practice this principle of atyahar. Why is it that human wants to collect and keep? Just write down why. We'll discuss it when we'll come to the solution. Now, giving the solution of atyahar, but we should understand what does atyahar means. So here Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur gives a very beautiful thing which comes in 14th paragraph. What does atyahar means? Please, one of you can read. So every time I am asking you to read, different devotees can just unmute and quickly read. Be ready. All of you have to
Too,
read.
too much endeavor to acquire knowledge on the part of mental speculators or dry philosophers falls within the category of atyahar, collecting more than needed. According to Srimad Bhagavatam, the endeavor of philosophical speculators to write volumes of books on dry philosophy devoid of Krishna consciousness is entirely futile. The work of karmis who write volumes of books on economic development also falls within the category of atyahar. Similarly, those who have no desire for Krishna consciousness and who are simply interested in possessing more and more material things, either in the shape of scientific knowledge or monetary gain, are all included under the control of Atyahar.
Correct. So Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur, he has not just taken the meaning of collecting food grains, collecting money, or eating too much. That is all that is also a meaning. But Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur gives various other meanings, which is very interesting to see. Too much endeavor to acquire knowledge related to mental speculator or dry philosophy, matlab jnana, too much jnana prayas, because it is unfavorable for bhakti. Anukulasya sankalpa nahi. It says anna bilashita shunyam jnana karma anavritam. So too much of jnana and karma one should not be indulging into. Yes, we should have jnana related to the bhakti literatures, but too much of knowledge, that is what here Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur is telling. Too much endeavor to acquire knowledge on the part of mental speculator or dry philosopher. See, mental speculator and dry philosopher are those who are jnanis. For becoming jnani is unfavorable, but becoming bhakta is favorable. We can read Prabhupada books, we can read Acharya's books, we can read Aura Gaudiya, Pramanik Guru's books. That is allowed. That is not in Atyahar. But when we go into jnana region, how we understand whether it is jnana region or not? See, there is a difference. What is the difference? The difference is of motivation. If somebody is reading books of Prabhupada or Acharyas or any spiritual master with the motivation of developing devotion for the Lord or improving his devotion, that is allowed. But if somebody is reading for the sake of, oh, I'll understand some new subject matter, I'll share with others, I will defeat others, that kind of prayas is called jnana prayas. In first kind of prayas, we are reading and we understand that actually, if Guru Krishna desires, then I will be able to understand. But here he tries to himself figure it out, how to understand, how to understand this subject matter so that I can tell others that I am also knowledgeable. This is what it is. Second thing is, Bhagavatam mein it's come the endeavor of philosophical speculators to write volumes of books on dry philosophy devoid of Krishna consciousness. This also comes, writing books So there are many books which people write, which has nothing to give and take with Krishna. The work of karmis who write volumes of books on economic development also falls within the category of atyahar. Volumes of books on economic development, suggesting the methods of developing economy. So this also is very prominent nowadays. People are suggesting a quick, short way of getting money, and that's what government is telling. कोई भी अगर आपको 2 दिन में पैसा इकट्ठा करने के लिए दे रहा है तो आप संभल के रहिए, ऐसा कुछ होता नहीं है. This also comes, and then those who have no desire for Krishna consciousness and who are simply interested in possessing more and more material things, either in the shape of knowledge or money. So this also comes into atyahar. So now, our Bhakti Vinod Thakur also talks about atyahar. What does he say? He says a very beautiful meaning. First thing he says, the word atyahar, overeating, does not mean only eating too much. Why it does not mean? Because he says first verse में already रूप गोस्वामी ने जीवा वेगम बोल दिया, उदर वेगम भी बोल दिया. जीवा वेगम और उदर वेगम मतलब खाने से रिलेटेड है. तो इस वर्ष में भी अगर उनको खाने से रिलेटेड बोलना होता अत्याहार, तो रिपीटेशन हो जाएगा ना. और इतनी छोटी सी ग्रंथ लिखनी है, वो इतना छोटा सा ग्रंथ लिखना है, 11 वर्ष है, उसमें एक ही चीज को बार बार थोड़ा रिपीट करेंगे. तो इसलिए भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर बोलते हैं कि जो साधक है, रीडर्स हैं, उनको अत्याहार के और भी मीनिंग देखने चाहिए, जो अभी यहाँ पे भक्ति सागर ठाकुर ने दिखाया हमको. अत्याहार का मीनिंग सिर्फ खाने से रिलेटेड नहीं है, सिर्फ एक्यूमुलेशन से रिलेटेड नहीं है, और भी बहुत सारी चीजों से रिलेटेड है. वो कौन सी चीजें रिलेटेड, तो बताते हैं. अति आहार, आहार का मतलब क्या होता है? खाना. तो अभी आप मेरे से कौन बता सकता है कितने प्रकार के खाने खाते हैं हम लोग, या कहाँ कहाँ से खाना खाते हैं हम? सही क्वेश्चन ही होगा, कहाँ कहाँ से खाते हैं खाना हम?
तो ये हम सारे सेंसस लेते हैं, उनके इनपुट, तो वो सब कुछ अलग अलग सेंसस का अलग अलग आहार है.
परफेक्ट, अमेजिंग. आप लोग तो ऑलरेडी इंटेलिजेंट है, मेरे ख्याल से जरूरत ही नहीं है नेक्टर इंस्ट्रक्शन, ऑलरेडी फॉलो करें. ठीक है, यस दैट इज ट्रू, है ना. एक्चुअली आहार क्या है? इट इज फॉर ऑल द सेंसेस. आईज के लिए आहार फॉर्म है, ईयर्स के लिए आहार साउंड है, नोज के लिए आहार फ्रेग्रेंस है, टंग के लिए टेस्ट है, स्किन के लिए टच है. तो इसमें से किसी भी चीज का आहार, इंक्लूडिंग माइंड आल्सो, वो बुक से नॉलेज है उसके लिए भी. Any type of ahar through our senses which you are getting in too much, that is also covered into atyahar. So now my question to all of you is, what all things are covered for us in atyahar, which you do in our day-to-day life? Please throw some light. Write down something in chat. Probably this get covered for us atyahar if you do too much of this, or if you do too much of this thing, that will be covered in atyahar. Please write down. ठीक है, यू माइट बी थिंकिंग प्रभु जी क्लास तो आप देने वाले हो, हमसे क्यों पूछ रहे हो? ठीक है, जस्ट फॉर योर सम इंफॉर्मेशन, यूट्यूब, इट्स गुड टू हियर प्रभुपाद क्लास, गुरु महाराज क्लास, बट इफ यू यूज इट टू मच, अत्याहार. व्हाट्सएप, yes, it's nice that we get information. Bhakti Shastri, please join fast, and we are joining. But if you just see the statuses, scrolling on the statuses of the people, and our status will become disturbed. And shopping, Amazon and other platforms, there was sale going on. Diwali, the bumper dhamaka. Oh, Diwali, let me take so many. Already we have, but still we take more. Sasta mil raha hai na? Aisa. Hearing too much. SoundCloud, I just gave, but it can be other things also. Hearing too many songs and unnecessarily. And finally, eating. Yes, we may not order from Zomato, of course, but the point is, we may go to so many other places and eat. So now, all of you, please write down in chat what all things after seeing this you felt that it comes into Atyar. So we have Shivanath Nityanand Prabhu saying watching YouTube or social media. अरे आपको पता है, इसका मतलब avoid कर रहे हैं already. Good. Dhananjay Mishra Prabhu says too much of online scrolling. Nowadays, there is a term. It says dooms scroll. You know about doom scroll? Doom scroll क्या है कि nowadays people when they open their mobile they're scrolling YouTube or Facebook, sorry, or shorts, and they're scrolling, 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 scrolling until another dooms, you know, they doom, you know. So like that, people they start scrolling at 8 p.m. in the evening and they end it at 12 midnight when they go to sleep. That is a thing. So this is scrolling is very dangerous nowadays. And in fact, this are defined like that. Like I was going in a train, you know, and this one person he was scrolling and he dooms and he actually slept, you know, and his mobile was scrolling and voice was coming. And then what happened, you know? I thought कि अभी वो सो गया है, अभी कुछ नहीं कर रहा है तो रुक जाना चाहिए, बट वो अपने आप चल रहा है, चल ही रहा है, बार बार आवाज आ रही है, नई नई रील्स आती है, वो सो गया है फिर भी आ रहा है. सो ऐसा डिजाइन करते हैं उसको सो दैट हम रोक ना पाए. डेली पैलेटेबल फूड्स ऋषभ प्रभु इज मेंशनिंग. अच्छा उससे पहले पुष्पेंद्र टू मच गुलाब जामुन इन फीस्ट. अच्छा हाँ करेक्ट, टू मच गुलाब जामुन दैट इज रिलेटेड टू ईटिंग. यस यू में से प्रभु जी एक ही बार तो मिल रहा है, कौन सा बार बार मिलता है गुलाब जामुन? एक मौका मिला है ले लेता हूँ. And daily palatable foods. Yes, every day we get too much good foods. तो हम बोलते हैं अरे मैं कार्तिक का व्रत तो रखने वाला हूं ही ना, एकादशी जन्माष्टमी वैसे ही फास्ट करता हूं मैं, है ना. और वो भी आप फास्टिंग टिल नून, कभी फास्टिंग टिल इवनिंग, इतना फास्टिंग तो आप करा ही लेते हैं, तो कभी तो फीस्टिंग करने दो बाबा, है ना. नेक्स्ट मोहित was mentioning in desire of getting something nice. ओके डूम, हाँ करेक्ट, वी कीप ऑन सीइंग, है ना, कुछ तो अच्छा मिलेगा. And next is using mobile phone after waking up in morning or before sleeping. हाँ correct. um, nectar shopping, doom scrolling, keeping our favorite items in almirah and taking it anytime with no regulation. This is also important. And we keep something for eating in our almirah. Of course, this is much related to those who are not married. Once you are married, then there are different kind of almirahs which are there. And then there are Zomato, then there are Ymato. And you just order the wife and she will be preparing things. Waking up late, yes, Umang Prabhu, too much of sleep, and that is Atyahar. Lord actually says regulation of this eating, sleeping, and vihar. Mohit desire to go here and there just to satisfy eyes. हाँ अच्छी चीज देखने को मिल जाएगी, आंखों का आहार. कृष्ण को देख लेंगे तो अत्याहार एकदम अल्टीमेटली इस सेंस में सोल्यूशन मिल जाएगा उसको, लेकिन बाकी मेटेरियल चीजों से तो नहीं भरने वाला. कलेक्टिंग बुक्स बट नॉट रीडिंग इवन वंस. हाँ अमेजिंग, करेक्ट. I tell to school days, when my new books used to come, I used to like their smells, है ना, and that's it. That is the only use of that book. After smelling, then nothing happens. So now, why we should avoid this atyahar? That is the next question. So now all of you please write down again in chat why we should avoid this atyahar. ठीक है प्रभु जी अत्याहार है, इतना सब कुछ हो रहा है, but when we know the need of avoiding it, then we will discuss how to avoid it. So please write down why to avoid this atyahar. बोलो मुझे वो तो पता नहीं क्यों क्यों अवॉइड करना है. अवॉइड क्यों करूं, अच्छा तो है प्रोजेक्ट त्योहार, फालतू में रूप गोस्वामी जी ने टाइम वेस्ट कर दिया ये लिख के ना. मेरे ख्याल से इसके अलावा कुछ और लिख देते. ओके वी हैव इट डिस्ट्रैक्ट अस फ्रॉम भक्ति. हाँ रूप गोस्वामी बोल रहे हैं विनश्यति हो जाएगा, रूप गोस्वामी बोल रहे हैं इट रिक्वायर्स अटेंशन टाइम टू मेंटेन दोस थिंग्स. वेरी गुड प्रतीक प्रूव दैट इट टेक्स अवे आवर टाइम, then consumes our time and there is no time left for hearing, reading and chanting. Yes, it takes away our time. All of you are very intelligent. It makes us forget our real purpose. Correct, we are servant, but it makes us feel we are master. It distracts us to the focus on tapasya. Correct, we are not able to do tapasya for bhakti. Our consciousness disturbed, no or less time for Krishna consciousness. Correct, so that can focus on devotion service. Perfect. Huh? We cannot focus on devotion service. We get into own consciousness rather than Krishna. Bodily consciousness, it generates a lot of bodily consciousness. Too much accumulation leads to consumption of consciousness. Correct. To keep storage for more Krishna conscious inputs. हाँ, then we cannot hear Krishna कथा नहीं. एक बार सुन लिया YouTube कथा, Facebook कथा, तो फिर कहाँ वो कृष्ण कथा अंदर जाएगा? इतना important points बोल रहे हैं आप लोग. Neither helpful for body nor mind. Correct. It destroys. Bodily also बस बैठे रहो ऐसे. No physical activity and mind also. Yes. So actually, because all of you gave such a beautiful answers, I felt what I answer wrote is very minimum in front of all of your answers. But what I wrote is, which I feel at least we should begin with thinking about one thing. Yes, we cannot think about so many factors altogether, but some one factor which we can think and worry about. That's what is written. So that is it takes away two assets, time and money. So in social media and other things, there is a famous saying, the things we consume end up consuming us. We are not consuming the things are consuming us. So these two factors are the treasures of any human being. Prabhupada many times says that Chanakya Pandit had said in Queen Kunti, Prabhupada says, even a moment which we are spending, it cannot be purchased by the money of whole world. So devotees have to be very careful of their time. In fact, as we become careful of the time, that there comes the quality of Bhava Bhakta. He is very choosy about his time. So if we are thinking that I have to reach to that level of Bhava, then I have to cultivate this habit of consuming or conserving my time. I should not waste time. This is one factor, in my opinion. There can be many other factors, which if a devotee is keep in mind, then they may avoid atyahar. That somehow or other I have to conserve time. I have to save time. I should not waste time. Why? Because if we are wasting time, then we are doing either of the one kind of atyahar, which we saw previously. And one factor is time related to mobile phone and other things, and related to eating and other things. We are losing our hard-earned money, which can be used in Krishna's service. Money. So whether somebody is watching movies, of course, devotees don't watch, but still, we have to pay money for that. We have to pay money for everything. We say that Prabhuji, इंटरनेट तो 2.5 GB तो 1.5 GB तो फ्री है दिन का. यस, वो फ्री नहीं है, वो आपका टाइम ले रहा है, कुछ तो ले रहा है आपसे वो. इट्स नॉट दैट आपने मनी भी दे रहे हो और टाइम भी दे रहे हो, तो डबल बेवकूफ है हम लोग, है ना. वो बोलते हैं ना डबल, क्या बोलते हैं उसको, ताश में खेलते हैं ना, एक इक्का आता है, डबल इक्का आ जाता है ना, और फिर 3 इक्का भी आ जाता है. तो वैसे ही हम लोग क्या, मोबाइल में डाटा के लिए पहले तो पैसा दे रहे हैं और उसके बाद उस डाटा को कंज्यूम करके अपना टाइम भी दे रहे हैं. मतलब ये डबल जोकर इन वन सेंस, है ना, दैट वी आर सो मच गेटिंग आवरसेल्फ कंज्यूम. तो ठीक है, एक ही जोकर बनिए, मोबाइल में पैसा रिचार्ज करा दे, दूसरा जोकर मत बनिए टाइम देकर. So devotee, he should be very much vigilant for his time and for his money. But another very important thing I'll tell you, Prabhu. आप बोलोगे प्रभु जी, मैं तो भक्ति करने आया हूँ, ये सब टाइम मनी वाली चीजें मत बताओ. कुछ ऐसा बताओ, भक्ति वाली चीज बताओ. ऐसे करने से कोई भक्ति होती है कि नहीं होती, बताओ प्रभु जी. ठीक है, तो आपके लिए रूप गोस्वामी स्पेशल चीज बोलते हैं, सिर्फ हम ही लोगों के लिए. भक्ति रसामृत सिंधु में बोलते हैं, है ना, कि भक्ति के 64 अंग हैं, उसमें से एक अंग यही है. क्या है एक अंग, है ना. भक्ति रसामृत सिंधु में रूप गोस्वामी बोलते हैं, यावद अर्थानुवर्तित यथा नारदीय. नारदीय पुराण में लिखा गया है, क्या लिखा गया है, यावत स्यात् स्वनिर्वाह स्वीकुर्यात् तावदर्थवेद अधिक्ये न्यूनत्याम च Chavate Paramarthata. It says the person with wisdom concerning material objects accept as much as is necessary for maintenance of bhakti. By accepting more or less than that, the person will fail to attain the highest goal. Now, this is core bhakti. If we are saving time, we are performing one of the very important limb of bhakti. If we are avoiding atyahar from any of our senses, we are performing one of the limb of bhakti, Prabhuji's. Don't think, अरे मैंने अवॉइड कर दिया, क्या भक्ति में प्रोग्रेस, ऐसा लगता है ना, व्हाट प्रोग्रेस आई विल मेक. ठीक है प्रभु जी, नहीं देखा यूट्यूब, मेरे ख्याल से भक्ति में प्रोग्रेस नहीं कर रहा हूं ना मैं, क्योंकि अभी जैसे किसी ने लिखा चैट में, यूट्यूब देखूंगा तो मेरे को कोई इंपॉर्टेंट वीडियो दिख जाएगी और वो इंपॉर्टेंट वीडियो देख के मेरा भक्ति में प्रोग्रेस है, ऐसा लगता है. अरे लेकिन रूप गोस्वामी बोल रहा है, हरे कृष्णा, हरे कृष्णा.
No, audible, Prabhuji.
अच्छा, ऑडियो रुक गई थी. हाँ ठीक है, अभी आ रही है ना? ठीक है. सो मेन थिंग इज, सी प्रभु जी, इफ वी आर, है ना, saving our time and avoiding atyahar, that is also coming as one of the limb of bhakti. Don't think कि वो वीडियो देख के ही आपका प्रोग्रेस होने वाला है भक्ति में, जो यूट्यूब पे मिलेगी स्क्रॉल करते हुए. ऐसा नहीं है. आप यूट्यूब को अवॉइड कर दोगे तो भी प्रोग्रेस होने वाला है ना. वीडियो मिली नहीं मिली वो तो डाउटफुल है ना, और कौन सी वीडियो मिली उससे प्रोग्रेस हुआ कि नहीं वो भी डाउटफुल है. लेकिन रूप गोस्वामी डायरेक्टली बोल रहा है, हथियार छोड़ दो, भक्ति प्रैक्टिस हो जाएगी. सिर्फ हथियार छोड़ने से भक्ति प्रैक्टिस हो जाएगी. कितना जनरस है रूप गोस्वामी, नहीं है ना. सो इसलिए इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट दैट एज अ डिवोटीज वी लर्न that we should give up atyahar. Why we are discussing so much about this is because Prabhupada has discussed so much about this, you know, and because Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has discussed so much about it. All our acharyas are talking about atyahar because they know just by avoiding atyahar, we are practicing one of the limb of bhakti. So now let us come to the solution. So this is a solution. Please, one of you can read the solution, Prabhu.
Modern warfare waged between capitalists and communists is due to the avoiding the advice of Srila Rupa Goswami regarding Atyahar. Modern capitalists accumulate more wealth than necessary, and the communists, envious of their prosperity, want to nationalize all wealth and property. Unfortunately, the communists do not know how to solve the problem of wealth and its distribution. Consequently, when the wealth of the capitalist falls into the hands of the communist, no solution results. Opposed to these two philosophies, the Krishna conscious ideology states that all wealth belongs to Krishna. Thus, unless all wealth comes under the administration of Krishna, there can be no solution to the economic problem of mankind. Nothing can be solved by placing wealth in the hands of the communist or the capitalist.
So this is what Prabhupada is talking from world point of view. What are these communist and capitalist? Communist means they says that all wealth should be divided equally. Capitalist says that whosoever is that one person who is able to grab it, he should be having it. So there is a joke which comes that how once there were two people, communist and capitalist. They both were going on a boat and there was a big storm and boat got broke and they reached to an island. On that island, there was some 20 canes of beer which was kept over there. And there was one person who was communist. Another person is capitalist. So this, they saw it. And the capitalist, he went and grabbed all the beer cans. And he said, "Oh, communist brother, let us divide these cans 50-50. You take 50, I'll take, you take 10, I'll take 10. And let us both enjoy." And communist saw, my God, he's so liberal. He's becoming communist. But then capitalist said, "Yes, we can enjoy. Only the can opener will be with me only. And that means I'll give you something, but you cannot enjoy that." So the point is that Prabhupada is mentioning that until unless people will come to this understanding that every money belongs to Krishna and it should be used in his service, till that time, there is no solution. There are more Prabhupada writes. Please read.
Simply
Simply
transferring wealth from capitalist to the communist cannot solve the problem of material politics. For it has been demonstrated that when a communist gets money, he uses it for his own sense gratification. The wealth of the world actually belongs to Krishna, and every living entity, man and animal, has the birthright to use God's property for his maintenance. When one takes more than his maintenance requires, be he a capitalist or a communist, he is a thief, and and as such he is liable to the punished by the natures of law, laws of nature.
For the solution part, Prabhupada is just talking about the one thing which is related to accumulating too much of money. Hmm. So now accumulating too much of money, when Prabhupada is talking this, so he is mentioning that every wealth belongs to Krishna and therefore it should be used in Krishna service. But for other reasons, if we try to too much keep that wealth protecting, you know, and also if we try to, either use too much of wealth for our own sense gratification, saving nothing, that will be dangerous. Hmm. That will not solve the solution. So how it is applicable for us as a devotees? Hmm. So for us as a devotees, because we all are earning money or will earn money, and we have to somehow save the money also. But in that saving, we have to be very, very careful. Hmm. Not that just we save the money and don't use it in Krishna service, thinking कि फ्यूचर सिक्योर हो जाएगा, फ्यूचर सिक्योर हो जाएगा. अरे प्रेजेंट ही आपका खराब हो रहा है तो फ्यूचर की क्या बात कर सकते हैं? So devotee should be very wise that this much money only I should be protecting for future, and right now also I should be using money in Krishna service. So this charity plays a very important role in avoiding atyar of money. So sometimes devotees, for earning money, they work very hard. They think if I earn great amount of money, then I will be able to, practice bhakti. That is an illusion. If practicing bhakti would be depending upon earning money, then Rup Goswami would have said, na, and in the favorable items in next shloka, earn money and practice bhakti. After all, Rup Goswami also earned the money, correct? But that is not the case. So therefore, it is atyahar. Of course, if the money comes on its own, like suppose somebody is not endeavoring much, but money comes on his own, that is all right. But if it comes out of too much of difficulty, then we have to see whether am I at the right place. Because first and foremost principle is to practice bhakti. So too much endeavoring for getting money will also be covered in ati prayas. There we will see, but here we will see only this much, that okay, you have money, but proper utilization of the money is important. That is atyahar. It should not be used for our sense gratification. It should be used for Krishna service. Neutralism will not work. Just saving money will not work. We have to save, yes, for future, but only saving will not work. We can see that Rup Goswami, he divided his wealth into 50, 25, 25. So just saving will not work. The saving purpose is to use in Krishna's service. That is an important thing which is discussed over here. And then Prabhupada gives a beautiful example of three people. One person will see the money, he will say it doesn't belong to me, he will go away. Another person will take it for himself and use it for own sense gratification. And the third one, what he will do? He will take it and give it to the right person or use it in Krishna service. So Prabhupada says we should be like third bhaktas. We should take money, earn money, but use it in Krishna service. The best way of using wealth is for the Krishna's service. Very important thing Prabhupada mentions. He says, in the red it is written, when people learn the art of scientifically utilizing the Lord's property, they will no longer encroach upon one another's rights. What is the scientific way of utilizing Lord's property? Says Ishavashyam idam sarvam yatkincha jagatam jagatena taktena bhunjita magrida kasya swiddhanam. Everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota, and should not accept other things knowing well to whom they belong. It doesn't belong to us. So it's very, very important we learn this accumulating tendency, especially related to money, which we are talking about here. You know, other factors we will see other time also, but especially related to money. And of course, food also. We should take that much as much it is for my quota set aside, not much more than that. So now somebody may say, Ki, Prabhuji, how to understand it is my quota or not? See, avoiding is not told, we have to take, but how to see? It's beautiful solution which is given in the form of Yukta Vairagya. Bhakti Vinod Thakur, we mentioned this. Anasaktasya Vishayan Yathartham Upayunjita Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagyam Uchyate. So here, for any activity which we are doing, how we can check whether it is Yukta Vairagya, whether I am not collecting more or eating more for my sense gratification. If these three conditions are fulfilled. First, Anasaktasya Vishayan, completely unattached to sense object. We should not be attached to that sense object. Second, Yathartham Upayunjita, who accept only as much as needed. I'll not take more, but as much as needed. Third, Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe, who is very eager in the matters related with Krishna. Means, even if I am taking something, I am more eager that to tell that this is related to Krishna. Yuktam Vairagya Muchati. That is called Yukta Vairagya. What does it mean? It means that whenever we are taking something or we are accumulating something, even we are scrolling on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and other things, we should always see these three factors getting fulfilled. First, am I becoming attached to YouTube? Just like one of you mentioned, that first thing which we get up early in the morning, we start seeing mobile. So if we cannot avoid mobile in the morning program, especially related to us, or if we are not able to avoid mobile during japa, and if we are just watching, the WhatsApp messages, that means we are attached. Then we have to take serious action on controlling that mobile thing. Or if you're too much seeing Facebook, YouTube. So this is called attachment means distraction means alternative attachment. So we have attachment for this object. That's why we are distracted in bhakti. So those things which are making us distracted in bhakti, whether it is Facebook, YouTube, money, we should understand it is for my sense gratification first. Now, even if I am not using it in the morning program, in the daytime I am using something or I am eating something, but second factor also should be fulfilled. I should accept as much as needed. It's not ठीक है ब्रो जी मॉर्निंग प्रोग्राम में नहीं देखूंगा यूट्यूब फेसबुक व्हाट्सएप बाद में देख लूंगा नहीं 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 जितना जरूरत है उतना ही देखना जितना जरूरत है उतना ही खाना जितना जरूरत है उतना ही कमाना चाहिए और कोई बोले ठीक है ब्रो जी उतना ही कमा दो चलेगा खुश ना 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 सिर्फ उतने से नहीं चलेगा थर्ड थिंग आल्सो we should be able to relate it with Krishna, or we should be eager in the matters related to Krishna. Whenever it comes to Krishna Katha, I should be more enthusiastic. Because by default, all these material things, whether it is money, whether it is Facebook and all, they kill our enthusiasm for practicing bhakti simultaneously. So even if I am using it in daytime, I can check what I am doing in morning program also. Okay, I may not be using it in morning program, but what is the level of my morning program? What is the level of my japa? You should be becoming very alert that I am doing somewhere atyahar. Find it out and try to regulate it. We cannot stop it, but we need to regulate it. And take help of devotees to regulate it. That is the solution. And for everybody, the regulation will be different. So therefore, we need one guide upon us who can tell us what is the right regulation. So, one more thing Bhakti Vinod Thakur says is that one should accumulate objects in accordance with one's objective. By collecting more than necessary, the sadhaka being subjugated by fondness for the object he has collected will not attain the highest goal, Paramarth. And by accepting less than is necessary, he will be unable to maintain his body, which is useful for performing bhajan, sorry, not bhojan. And then finally he says, therefore, atyahar for grasta means they can acquire good, sufficient things for maintenance, but not beyond their basic needs. And for renounces, they are forbidden to accumulate more than necessary because they're completely depending upon Krishna. So I'll stop here. Prabhus, more we will discuss tomorrow and begin. And all of your questions we can take tomorrow, I think. Tomorrow we'll try to take questions and then we'll become prayas. We'll begin prayas. So I've given you good amount of things shared. Just try to accumulate, assimilate, think, and then tomorrow come up with the questions. The more questions will be, the more clear this topic will be, because there are so many things in the topic. I couldn't cover everything. But if your question comes, then it will be very good. So stop here for this time. Thank you very, very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Rup Goswami Pad ki jai, Shiv Deshamrit ki jai. Hare Krishna.